Hey everyone, Voodoo here. So in the last alpha update, which was yesterday night, Havoc and Demon Hunter trees were added to the alpha. So today I'm just going to go over them pretty briefly, give my thoughts on stuff, show like some of the new directions, and give some feedback. And we're doing more in-depth videos over different like builds and different talent choices and some gameplay over the next few days. Also, apologies if I sound a little weird. I'm sick at the moment after coming back from my vacation. I'm just kind of dealing with that. But without further ado, we'll get right into it. So we're going to start with the class tree. So looking here, we start with Vengeful Tree at baseline, which is pretty good. You also have the choice getting Master's Glaive, extra Glaive charges, and then Sigil's baseline. So generally, up here is kind of like your Havoc side, and this is kind of like your Vengeance side. But the tree is pretty evenly mixed between the two. You get some pretty good options with like increased maximum fury is fine. You can grab multiple glaives, and then you get stuff down here like increased crit chance of immolation aura and all that stuff. In terms of DPS, like throughput options, there aren't a lot, which is generally pretty good. You have Aura of Pain, which you're going to want to take most of the time. You have Rush of Chaos, which reduces Metamorphosis cooldown from 5 to 4 minutes. You're going to want to take that just to, have a reasonably useful meta. Fellblade's really good. You're going to probably want to take that, especially because of what you have in the class tree. There's also Demonic. And then down, let me just unlock some stuff to get down into this. There's also the Hunt, which is pretty much your last throughput one, and you also have Demonic Appetite, which can also be a throughput one because of all the fury you get. Those are all throughput nodes. There's some other stuff. Sigil Misery and Defeat. We get Sigil Misery, and then everything we do with that takes 10% more damage. That's not that big of a deal because it's pretty much one hit. So it'll fall off pretty fast. There's also Sigil Flame. This generates Fury. But realistically, we have a lot of Fury pretty much as is. So I don't really think we'll need this. I think it's kind of a trap. It's just kind of a waste of GCD. That's pretty much it for throughput, though. So I think that's fine. I think having a lack of throughput options is good on a class tree. You want to have a lot of the utility options. We have stuff like Darkness here. It says 3 minutes, but really it's a 5-minute cooldown baseline. With the thing taking it 120 seconds less. You have stuff like Chaos Nova, you have Blur, you have a 4% damage reduction and a 4% stamina node, which you're probably going to want to take. You have your Sigils, which are both good. We have Silence and we have Misery now. Those are really good to pick up. You also can get stuff like Charred Warblade, which makes all your fire damage heal you for 5%. Pretty good. This node's weird, so our Mastery actually doesn't increase our movement speed anymore. It's now a node, which means Vengeance can get this too. Meaning they can also have Master increase in movement speed, which is like weird but kind of fine. Soul Rending's here, 10% leech, 20% leech, whatever. Demonic is here, which is really good. There's also Demonic Origins. I don't think you're ever going to take this. Demonic is just super powerful. Getting more metas isn't that good. Overall, though, I think the class tree is really good. I think there's a few weird nodes. I think so you're going to want to get the stamina increase. But you have to go through Concentrated Sigils and Precise Sigils to get it, which I think is really weird. There's also the pathing down here. So to get Blur and Demonic Appetite and Desperate Instincts, you have to get Chaos Nova, which is kind of weird. There's also the stuff with Misery and Defeat. I don't think this talent actually does that much because, you do one hit and then Sigil of Misery gets broken and this doesn't affect it anymore. So I think that's pretty weird. There's also weird stuff up here with kind of 2 points into Disrupt and Disrupting Fury. So they've kind of taken our kick. They've made it baseline, but they've reduced its range and they made it so it doesn't get Fury. And they've kind of baked it into 2 different points. I don't think that's that big of a deal, but I think that maybe these could be combined. Same with Consume Magic giving you Fury. Hellfire Haste off on the side is also fine. Lost in Darkness off on the side is fine. You're never going to take this unless it's like PvP, so I think it's definitely in a weirder spot. Overall, though, I'm pretty happy with the class tree. There's some cool stuff. You get Darkness down here. You get Sigil Silence, which is really good. You get stuff that makes Sigil Silence enemies do less damage. A bunch of Sigil buffing stuff down here. I don't think Havoc will really end up taking these. Maybe you could in M+ for more Sigil Silence, Sigil Misery, but who knows? And then, the Hunt's back. They've added Malice, which does increase the dot damage. And then they also have Fey Empowered Elixir, which basically whenever you kill an enemy with the Hunt, while its dot is up, it's 12 seconds off. This talent, I don't think it'll end up being very good because the dot only lasts for like 5 seconds. So you kind of have to use it as like an execute, which is kind of weird because you want to use it up front. It's pretty big like burst cooldown. But I digress with that. So overall, class tree pretty good. We're going to move on to the Havoc Tree now. and I'll give my thoughts on that. All right, so before we get to the Havoc Tree, I just want to say that if you've enjoyed the video so far, if you enjoy Havoc Demon Hunter and stuff like that, I'll be having a ton of content going out about them through the alpha, beta, and release cycle for Dragonflight. Big Havoc player myself, really big fan of the class. So I'm gonna ask, like the video if you enjoyed it, comment down below about your thoughts on talent trees. Give me a little subscribe if you liked it. I really appreciate that. And we're gonna move on to the Havoc Tree. So I-Beam, starting with that, good. We're gonna get a bunch of Blade Dance, Death Sweep talents right here, which you're pretty much going to pick up. They removed the Fury reduction cost on First Blood, but made it deal Chaos damage, which is a fine trade-off. We have a lot of Fury gains, so this isn't really that big of a deal. I think, first, big issue, I think it's weird that Tactical Retreat and Improved Chaos Strike are off of Trail of Ruin. These don't really benefit or interact with Trail of Ruin in any way, so I think maybe reorganizing that would be a first step to be kind of, improving this tree. I think, again, that critical chaos being off of First Blood is weird. You could probably just maybe move Trail Ruin and First Blood to reorganize it so that these are kind of linked together, and Chaos Strike goes into critical chaos. I think that'd be good. You have extra charge of Fel Rush, sure, whatever. Improved Fel Rush damage. Immolation Aura lasts longer, which is actually really good, which we'll get down later. And then more Fury whenever you push Burning Hatred. So up here it's pretty good. I think you can do a slight reorganization of pretty much these three talents here. Other than that, it is pretty good. We're just going to click some buttons so we can move down. 1 second. We'll click buttons so we can have everything here. Okay, so now we're down here into the second gate. I think down here in the second gate is when we start to hit more of the serious problems. So overall, one of the big problems with the Havoc Tree is its pathing and its point requirements. So I think the stuff on the tree itself is actually really good. There's some cool, interesting directions that we can take. There's some fun turning talents and some new fun talents. But I think that just the points we have to spend to get some stuff, there's a lot of 2-point nodes that don't need to be 2-point nodes. And the pathing just don't really make a lot of sense. And we'll get into that. So I think the first thing here is that Felfire Heart, that doesn't need to be 2 talents. It's 1 second duration increase. That's not a really good spend of a point. Same with Critical Chaos. This doesn't need to be 2 points. This could easily be 1. This is really cool. So this is basically Karane's First Strike. You damage them for the damage you get more critical strike chance. However, using Vengeful Retreat actually refreshes the ability for that to trigger, so that's really cool. You get your I-Beam giving you haste, that's fine. Looks can kill, I-Beam deals guaranteed critical strikes, that's fine. Over here we have choice between Insatiable Hunger and Demon Blades. Demon Blades was changed, so it's always going to give you the Fury and always going to do the extra damage, so that's actually a really good change. So we have consistent Fury generation now with it, which means you're never going to take Insatiable Hunger. You're just always going to take Demon Blades. It's really good passive Fury generation, especially with haste, especially with Wind Fury Totem. So that's just an easy pickup. So since it was changed to always trigger, it was nerfed the amount it generates, but that doesn't really matter because it's always going to hit, right? Blind Fury is here. You're probably going to end up taking that too in certain scenarios. This being 2 points is weird. Serrated Glaive being 2 points is weird. And Chaos Theory being 2 points is weird. There's more down here that are 2 points that shouldn't be. Unbound Chaos 2 is the 2 points that shouldn't be. Soul Rend is 2 points that shouldn't be. Let's see here. Cycle of Hatred is 2 points that shouldn't be. And Improvement Amorphosis also doesn't need to be 2 points. So those are kind of the big things, right? Chaos Theory, 1 point for like 10 to 18% crit chance, sure, whatever, that's kind of boring. 1 point for 10% increased damage of Glaive, that's boring. 1 point for more Fury and increased duration is boring. And then this too, making it deal more damage. I just don't think those need to be 2 points. I think that really limits us in what we can take, right? Because we're spending all these 2 points here, you kind of need to spend 2 points in a few of these things to move down. A lot of them are really powerful too. It limits the points we could spend on stuff like Netherwalk and Fell Eruption. You're just not going to take those because they're too expensive, right? We need to invest these 2 points here to move down further into our tree, so you're not going to end up taking Netherwalk or Fell Eruption, which I think is a big issue. Other issue is pathing, right? So Unbound Chaos is here, but this is kind of like a throw glaive kind of side of the tree, if you will. You have Soul Rend, Throw Glaive causes targets to take initial 6% damage dealt as Chaos, so that's pretty much Bloodlet, but as Chaos. And you also have Fell Bombardment, which is the current legendary. Those don't really interact with Unbound Chaos, but they do interact with Serrated Glaive. Then over here on this side we have Momentum, Fell Rush, the Hunt, Vengeful Retreat, and Glide, which is an issue I'll touch on in a second. Over here, that works really well with Unbound Chaos, but Unbound Chaos is way over here. That's an issue. Moving to Momentum, Glide I think is really degenerate. It basically means that you have to kind of keep rotating glides every few seconds or so you can keep up the buff for Momentum. I think this should be changed to Fellblade. I think it's going to make it feel really smooth and flowy, which is how momentum should feel. And also kind of tune it down a little bit. Being able to glide whenever you want to get the buff is really weird and degenerate and leads to basically 100% uptime, which isn't that big of a deal, but it's just not really fun to play with. So I think that should be changed. I don't think you're ever really going to take Isolated Prey unless it's on very permanently single target. And even then, it leading into Essence Break, I don't think you'd take Essence Break. So I think these kind of nodes should be broken up a little bit. I think Rage Fire is really cool. Each time Immolation Aura deals crit damage, you gather half of that, and then whenever Immol Aura expires, it explodes. That's a really cool button. I think that's really sick to see. The other big issues I see are kind of these ones, Restless Hunter and Inner Demon. They kind of do opposite things. I think they should really be a choice node. I think they're interesting and cool, but I think making these a choice node would be much better. Because this makes it so that when you leave Demon form, you get a charge of Fel Rush and do more Blade Dance damage. So is when you enter it, your Chaos Strike kind of crashes for Chaos damage in an area around you. Interesting options, but I think they should be made into a choice node. There's also Fodder the Flame and Elysian Decree. Fodder could be interesting, but you'll never take Elysian Decree. It's just not really worth it, especially since we don't have the Legendary. So I think that's weird. There's also stuff like Know Your Enemy, which is really good. Attacks have increased critical strike damage equal to your chance. And then Cycle of Hatred, Chaos Strike also reduces the cooldown of I-Beam by whatever, and refunds Fury. Whenever it does that, you get an extra second off, which leads to Critical Chaos, which is critical. Chaos Strike deals more, has a higher chance to refund whenever you crit. So there's really cool interplay here with stuff like that, but I really think that this needs to be reduced in talent points, are the big ones. They need to be moved around a little bit, and they need to be kind of reshuffled and rethought about in point count, so we can actually take Nether Walk and take Full Eruption and use those things and use like points further down the tree. Like when you actually end up taking your points, generally if you want to get whatever like everything you want up here, you can't really spend all your points down to the bottom of the tree, especially because a lot of these things cost 2 for no reason. It limits what you can do at the bottom and limits build diversity and restricts it so you can't really take Nether Rock Fell Up, and I think it's a big deal. I think those are all my initial thoughts on the trees. I think overall they're really cool. They're adding a lot of new, interesting, and fun things to play with. I didn't even touch on the capstones. Shadow Destiny. Every 5 Fury increases Demon Form by 0.1 seconds, which ends up to be a very high uptime of Demon Form, which is fun. And then any means necessary. Basically, your Mastery makes all your single school magic, so anything that isn't Chaos, effectively. I don't believe that Havoc has anything else that's multi-school. Pretty sure it's just Chaos damage. But it makes all your single school stuff into Chaos, which is really good. It adds Mastery scaling. We have crit scaling in the form of Critical Chaos, Cycle of Hatred, and Know Your Enemy, which is very good, so that's fixed that. The other thing that hasn't really been fixed is our cooldowns. We don't really have a big cooldown. We have the Hunt back, which is good. And they made it so that meta will give us more haste while we're in it with improved Metamorphosis, which should also be 1 point. But other than that, we don't really have anything like not Demons Blades, Chaos Blades, or Nemesis or anything like that. So I think maybe some form of cooldown could be good. But I think the way that it's working right now, I'm pretty excited for Havoc to come in the future. I think there's definitely some issues like I've outlined, but I think if those get fixed up, I think we're going to see some pretty fun and exciting stuff for Havoc, and I'm really looking forward to playing it. Those are my thoughts. That's kind of my initial feedback. The Havoc Demon Hunter Discord has a bunch of feedback as well. I know Atreyan's doing a post on the forum. He's doing a FAQ as well. But so there's a lot of other options there as well. There's a lot of discussion going on. I'll be doing videos about different builds and playing in the dungeons soon. So keep an eye out for that, and hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. I really appreciate it, and thank you.